Good morning. Today I want to talk to you about circular saws. If you are looking to buy one or you're looking for a secondary one, I would recommend a track saw. Now I know track saws are expensive. They start anywhere from like $500 and go all the way up to the nice ones for $1,500. But they are definitely worth it, and they're worth the money. However, if you already have a bunch of circular saws or want to go the budget route, let me show you how to make your own track saw for your particular saw. So today we're going to make a cheap and easy track for a circular saw. Now I have this Ryobi saw. It's probably like $60. It's a pretty decent saw. Not one I'd use every day at a job site, but it gets the job done when you're trying to break down material. So we need to make a track for it. So the first thing I would do is get the measurement of both sides of the blade. As you can see here, the deeper side is 4 1/4 inches, and the short side is 1 3/8 inches. So first I'll write down those measurements. Now what we need to do is get a 1/4 inch piece of plywood or 1/2 inch. 1/4 inch has a lower profile and you will get more out of your blade, but 1/2 inch will work. You'll just lose 1/4 inch depth, but not a problem. What you'll need is to cut 2 pieces out of that plywood. They need to be 4 foot long, and to determine how wide you need to make the bigger piece, you'll need to take your 2 measurements. And this doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be wider than what your measurements are. So I'm going to cut. I need 5 inches on that side and 2 inches on that side, and the middle piece will be 3 inches. So for the first piece, is going to be 10 inches, and for the middle piece here is going to be 3 inches. So depending on what your circular saw setting is, will vary, but not much. Just make sure that the outside dimensions are wider than what your actual measurements are, because we're going to cut down the board to make it a zero clearance track saw, and it'll get fixed in the end. But just make sure you have enough wood on each side. So just like in the drawing, we've got our 10-inch piece here, we've got our 3-inch middle piece here. The 5 inches are going to be on this side, the 2 inches are going to be on this side. So what we need to do now is to lay some glue out and attach them together. So I'm just going to use wood glue, because it's going to give a nice strong bond. And we're also going to add Starbond CA glue just to help to use as clamping. This is 1/4 inch. If you're using 1/2 inch, I would use, you can use brad nails just to hold it together. But since it's 1/4 inch, it's kind of hard to get any nailing or screwing. So that's why we're going to use the CA glue. Color doesn't matter. This is just what I had on hand. This is the brown medium thick. So then we take our accelerator. We are going to spray it on the back side here. And we will lay it down. Now it doesn't have to be perfectly square or anything like that, because when we cut it, it will be square. But it's good to line up the edges to make sure that the ends meet. Now let's get some weight on this while it's drying, and we'll be good to go. Okay, we've let that set up. We're gonna, let's take the weights off and we'll make this zero clearance. So now to make the zero clearance, you just need to cut each side of the board depending on which side of the saw you are on. The short side on the short side and the long side on the long side. And then that will make it zero clearance, and I'll show you why that's important. So now just flip the board around and then do the water side next. As you see, I'm putting blue tape down on the board. The reason I did that for the second cut is because the plywood was cheaper grade and was splintering, and 2, I had a rough cut blade on the saw, so there was prone to a lot of chip out on such a thin plywood. So that was helped to reduce the amount of chip out that I've got on there. But if you have a finer tip blade on your saw, that might not be necessary, but since I'm using a rough cut blade with plywood, I'm gonna get a lot of chip out. Everything is fixable in building. So why make a track saw? So after all this work, probably about 5 minutes worth of work to put this together, why do you really need it? Well, let me show you the quickest thing of why I use it. The reason I needed a circular saw is so I could break down sheeted goods. Now, you can, if you want to measure this piece of plywood and cut it down to a certain degree, let's say we're just cutting it in half at 48 inches, let's just say this is the 48-inch mark, then what you'd have to do is you can either, if you freehand it, but then you're losing a straight edge, you'd make your mark at 48 inches. And then if you just had a straight edge, you can upgrade to a straight edge, but then you have to measure the distance. Remember that 4 1/4 inches that was on the widest part of our blade? Well, you've got to mark that now at 4 1/4 inches so that you can put your straight edge here. And then you got to do the same thing on the far end. And then you got to make sure that's all lined up and square to cut your straight line. So that takes a lot of time measuring, and then you got to clamp it down. You got to make sure your clamp is down straight. That takes a lot of time because you got to figure out the distance of the guard on your saw. With the track saw, it's 0 clearance. So all you need to do is make your measurement. Let's say we want to cut right here at the 48-inch mark. We put our track saw up because it's 0 clearance, because wherever this cut is where the blade is going to cut. And then to make it square, you take your framer square, frame it up to your piece of wood, and then you just square up the track saw to your framing square. And then all you have to do is clamp down the track saw and you're ready to go. Much faster, a lot less measuring. The more measuring you have to do, the more chances of getting an error and not a straight line. So this way you're eliminating a lot of your errors and it's less measuring. And there you have a perfectly straight line with minimal measuring. I did want to share one more quick tip. Whenever I make a jig for any tools that I use, I like to mark the tool that it goes with. I put the date just because I'm always curious how long they last. But that reminds me of what it matches up to, and plus I write on it just to let me know, don't throw away, it's not scrap, that it is have an intended purpose. Sometimes my jigs get thrown away on accident or go into the burn pile. So if you're looking to buy a circular saw, I would definitely look at a cordless track saw. Definitely worth the money. But if you already have a saw or it's out of your price range, then I definitely build a track for your saw as soon as you can, because you'll be happy how indispensable that tool is. So I hope this helps. Keep on building. And if you'd like to see more videos like the one that you just saw, you can check here and here. And remember the ABCs of making. Always be creating. Till next time.